speaking of fights that you love, man, we officially got it. No more ifs, ands, or buts about it. July 29th, Spence versus Crawford. You've always been, of the belief that Crawford will win that fight, possibly by stoppage. Do you still think that, or do you kind of look at it and say, you're leaning towards Spence a little bit now?
Not leaning towards Spence. I always believed that Crawford was the better fighter, that Crawford would win either by points or knockout, probably by knockout, but maybe by points. I really believe that Terence has too much talent for Spence, who's a very talented fighter, but I think Crawford is more talented than Spence is.
A couple of months ago, you did some interviews about the $50 price point for Haney versus Lomachenko. My question is, has that worked for you? Are you happy with that?
Well, again, would we have done the same number of buys if actually it was $60? Would we have done the same number of buys if we had charged $70? You never know. You never know. We charged $60. We did more than enough buys to come out in the black, not in the red. So it is what it is. I mean, I'd rather go low on price than high on price, because if you go low on price, just naturally more people can afford it and be willing to buy the fight.
So pay-per-views going forward are going to be on a sliding scale, you would say, depending on the buzz of the fight?
Well, depending on, you have to make a determination. If a fight is really huge and you're spending a lot of money on the fighters, like a big heavyweight fight, you probably have to charge more money. But if you can, I believe in lowering the price and getting more people involved. And even better, if you can afford it, do it without making people pay anything, like this fight. I mean, this fight could be on pay-per-view and would do a pretty good number. But isn't it great that it's being offered to the fans for no additional charge to watch it on ESPN? I mean, that for me, we can't in boxing put all of these fights on pay-per-view. Look at other sports. You have the NBA Finals now. Are they on pay-per-view? No. They're offered free on network television. You have the Stanley Cup. Are they on pay-per-view? No. They're offered free on network television. You've got to be sensible, or else you'll kill the sport.
I have a question. The Maloney brothers, can you outline their path? This is for an Australian boxing publication.
Yeah. Well, Jason, I believe, was the kid who won.
Yeah, I was getting confused too.
Yeah, and I was very happy they had won. And Andrew was in with this Japanese boy who was just better than he was. So I would like, down the line, particularly in the winter, where it's really the summer in Australia, to have them both perform in Australia, because it's a great place to do an event. And if you do it like we've done it on a Sunday afternoon in Australia, it comes back on prime time in the United States. So hopefully we'll be able to do it this winter.
Perfect, thank you.
Bob, speaking of pay-per-view price points, right? What should the pay-per-view price point of Spence and Crawford be to maximize value?
That's up to the promoters. They're the ones laying out the money. They have to determine where is the sweet spot and act accordingly. Why would I get in their shoes where I have no idea what they've guaranteed the fighters, what their nut is? How could I decide it, accurately? I think Al Heyman, I guess, who's on the hook in that fight, will make the correct decision. been around a long time, and he knows what he's doing.
You know, it could do tremendous business.
Last question, Stephen. Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, July 29th. What is your expectations?
Look, this is one I'm not really nervous about. You know, we talked before. You spend a lot of time making these fights, doing the marketing, getting the negotiation, the deal's just right, and then we wonder, like we worry and we lose sleep over what's going to happen in the ring, because that's the one part that we can't control. And with everything on the line in these big events, we just want good fights at the end of the day, so everyone goes home satisfied. This is one where I have no concern about how the fight's going to play out. There's no way that this is not, an absolute classic in the ring. You have two guys who are versatile. They can box, they can punch, they can slug, they can brawl. This is going to be, I'm very convinced, a classic fight, a very memorable fight in the ring. So from our perspective, we just got to do our job, continue marketing the event. But in terms of fight night itself, I have no concerns. That's going to be a war.
If Errol Spence is successful, is Canelo Alvarez a possibility? In those two fights, is Canelo Alvarez at a catch weight a possibility?
Well, at the end of the day, that's up to Canelo. That's his call. Errol is definitely seen that he is willing to make the jump. Whether it's realistic, it depends on what happens on July 29th and what happens in the near future. But I think, look, there's some mouth-watering opportunities for him. Errol Spence could make a lot of them. It would be interesting to see yet another undisputed guy. If he beats Terence Crawford, fighting another undisputed guy.
You went from being broke, quotation marks, going out of business, to having the best year ever in boxing. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been, look, it's a little bit of luck, but it's a lot of hard work. Pieces fall into place, with PBC and TGB and of course, the fighters making, the fights that need to be made. I think it's a phenomenal year for the sport.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate
You got
it.
it.
Gotcha. I don't think I've ever seen you actually answer, because it seems like finally, fingers crossed, we are going to get Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence June 17th. Fingers crossed. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it. But if you kind of had to choose, man, who do you think has the edge? 51-49 kind of deal, man.
Yeah, I like both of those guys. You know what I mean? I like both of them.
You gonna say political, huh?
Be a politician right there, boy. He got all the questions correct.
I'm gonna bet on that fight though. So
Which way you betting?
So you can't say that and then not.
I'm gonna watch the weigh-in before I make that decision.
Is that the most important thing to you when it comes to fights? How a fighter looks on the scale, I guess?
Well, not the most important, but all of it means something. So.
Well, since that Spence now has not been in the ring for almost a year, do you think that Crawford might have a better edge on this fight now, since he just fought in December?
I can't say that. No. That's going to be a great fight.
Hey, so you say you're gonna watch the weigh-in. So what exactly will you be looking at?
There you go.
When you're looking at the weight, how they looking at each other to stare down. What specifically will you be looking
We'll be
at?
watching all of them. Yeah, I'm gonna watch it all, man. I may even have my eyes involved before the weigh-in.
J Prince for president, boy, the way you answer these questions, bro.
Well, Prince, appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Eddie here with YSM Sports Media. Tonight was really explosive. Were you expecting that?
Well, I wasn't expecting a finish. It was a great atmosphere, great fight card, and the main event was really building up into a really exciting fight. But I felt like it was a bad decision from the referee. I mean, Montana Love definitely shouldn't have been as aggressive as he was, but at the same time, just getting headbutted, he had a cut, and I would have liked to see the fight go on, because I think it was building into a fantastic fight.
Is this a fight that we can expect to see possibly next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the rematch is a big fight, and I think we'll have to see. Stevie Sparks in a great position, but I know this place would fill up for the rematch.
Speaking of rematches, Canelo and Bivol, is that something we can expect to see?
Yeah, I mean, Bivol was brilliant the other week, Canelo definitely wants to fight him again, wants to try and avenge that defeat. But we'll have to see. Dimitri also would like to get the undisputed victory over Beterbiev. I feel like he's the best 175-pounder in the world. But you know, Canelo will be pushing for that rematch, and we'll see what happens.
And lastly, 2023 is ending off with Bud, Crawford, and Errol Spence, kind of letting the boxing fans down a little bit. Is there a possibility of seeing that fight in 2023?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's definitely not the first time that we've seen a big fight not materialise. But, you know, we need to keep trying to make the big fights, and hopefully we'll see that fight in 2023.